All right. Hello, everybody. Whether you are joining us live or watching the recording, I welcome you into this space. Thank you for signing up to learn from me. I'm really excited to teach you about belief work. It has been absolutely life-changing for me, which is why I'm so passionate about spreading the lessons to everyone else, especially those in the STEM community. I think we're the ones who need it the most. So today's workshop, as you know, is the Unblock Balance Beliefs workshop. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I have a beautiful presentation that I spent a lot of time working on that we're going to look at together. My screen is this way, so if you see me looking that way, I'm looking at the presentation screen, but my camera's here. I should probably change that setup in the future, but it doesn't change the value that you're about to get. So let me share my screen with you. Yes. Okay. So I am going to start this slideshow, except I want my Zoom to be full screen and it's not. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, here it is. Okay, hold on. Sorry, just give me 1 second while I figure out Zoom. Okay, cool. So like I said, welcome to the Unblock Balance Beliefs workshop. The main goal today is going to be dismantling the common beliefs that are blocking you from the balance that, you want, right? So I'm going to start this slideshow. If you don't know me, although I'm sure you do if you signed up, my name is Jen. And hello STEMMIEs. I am a project engineer. I'm a podcast host, and I am now a newly certified soul purpose and self-care life coach. And I'm offering that coaching, that service specifically to the STEM community, given my personal experiences, getting my degree in engineering and now working as an engineer full-time. So my main purpose with my platforms, whether that's my podcast, whether that's my coaching services, whether that's Instagram and the content that I put out there, the whole goal is to help you integrate more of your soul into your STEM career. And how do I do that exactly? I do that through helping you create a self-care strategy that finally puts your soul's purpose and your soul's desires first. Now, the main topics that I go over in my platform are 1, self or soul care. And I don't do this in the way that you've probably seen in mainstream media. I like to take this angle from a more subconscious belief stance and a somatic nervous system stance. And this topic is exactly what we're going to cover in today's workshop. And some following topics that I discuss throughout my platform as well is 1, transitioning from STEM to a more soul-centered career field. So I interview past STEM professionals who evolved their STEM skills to a more soul-centered career field, right? And then thirdly, I also love to connect STEM concepts with spiritual modalities. So I like to showcase all the ways that I see that STEM's truths connect to spiritual truths and vice versa. I have yet to come out with episodes within that topic at the moment, but they are definitely upcoming, and there's an entire bank in my content list where I just have so much to say on that. And then, like I said, when I was introducing myself, I am now a certified soul purpose life coach, and I would like to document my process in establishing my coaching business and obviously offering those services to this exact community. And this is one of the ways that I'm starting through these free workshops. Now, to give you an overview of what this workshop is going to entail, the first thing is I'm actually going to explain how beliefs are even formed in the first place and how those beliefs get upgraded and evolve, right? So I'll briefly explain that. And yes, okay, number 2. Once I describe the formation and the up level of your beliefs, then we'll go into those most common beliefs that you have and why they're blocking you from balance, and reframing them into something else that actually serves the self-care that you're aiming to achieve. Then lastly, we're going to take these new reframes and create a self-care strategy. So I'll recap the lesson and I'll offer a couple of ways that you can integrate it, embody it, and take it beyond today's workshop, which is the goal. Now, I want you to think just of one belief, one thought, one opinion that you have towards your balance that you believe is 100% true. Like, you just have so much evidence, you have so many experiences, it is just a solid fact. This thought about balance while you're getting your STEM degree, while you're working in STEM, whatever the case is, it's just true. I want you to think of that thought, hold it in your headspace, and then what I have to say to you is that beliefs are experiential and that they can evolve due to your brain's neuroplasticity, which I will go into full detail about. So first part, beliefs are experiential. What do I mean by that? How are they formed? So one, whatever belief you have, the one that you just thought of about self-care, about balance while you're in STEM, it may feel true, right? It may feel so 100% true, and it may feel like a fact, but it is actually a strengthened thought or opinion. It's not actually a fact. It only feels true and feels like a fact because you had one experience that created the thought unintentionally. And every time you had a similar experience from that point forward, because that neural pathway was once created, it was then strengthened and emphasized to the point that it is so strong that it is just a full belief in your brain. It has been imprinted. Now, you can change this belief. It can change with time. It can change with your experiences. So the fact that beliefs are formed through experiences, that they're experiential, it means that they're not an absolute truth that has to stay true forever. If we shift your experience, like today, like joining today's workshop, then a new thought can now be formed. And every time you practice it, you solidify that new thought to 100%. So consider today's workshop as this first piece of evidence for you to start letting in the idea that balance is available to you, that you can have it, that you are in STEM and completely balanced. Now, to kind of give you the backstory of how this works, it is due, like I said, to the neuroplasticity in your brain. But first off, I want to define what a belief even is, right? So it is a practiced thought that has strengthened your neural pathway to the point where it is now natural and habitual to function from. So if you don't know what neuroplasticity is, I actually learned about it for the very first time through a podcast interview that I did with Jorge Quintero. He's an electrical engineer alumnus from Rice University. He is a brain performance coach. You should follow him on Instagram. He's the first person to introduce this to me. At the end of the interview, I asked him, out of all the things you've learned about the brain, what is the one thing that is just the absolute, like, most mind-blowing fact that you need to let my audience know? And he said neuroplasticity. So the reason why it's so profound is that your brain has the forever ability to change and adapt regardless of age. So it can create and strengthen new neural pathways all the time through these experiences. Now, this makes the neuroplasticity is what makes it possible for you to weaken the pathways that are causing you to not have balance and to strengthen new ones that actually support it. Now, second, from the science, from the neuroplasticity angle, from the life coaching angle, there is this model called the thought model that was originally created by Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. And I think it goes perfectly hand in hand with your brain's neuroplasticity. So first of all, you have a circumstance, okay? Now, the circumstance can be your STEM degree, you being a STEM student, you in this environment of STEM. Now, this environment is completely neutral. It means absolutely nothing. It is just facts that you can prove like in the court of law, okay? Now, the thought that you attach to your circumstance is where all of your power lies. And once you are in your circumstance and you have thoughts and you have opinions towards it, those thoughts trigger a feeling and an emotion in your body. And when you are in that state of feeling, in that state of emotion, you then take action, you behave in a certain manner under that emotion, and the actions and behaviors that you take from that emotion that originally triggered by the thought that you have in that circumstance produces a result that 100% of the time proves the thought true. So you are providing yourself evidence of what you believe over and over and over again. And this is why you have strengthened the belief that balance isn't possible for you, or whatever reason, whatever belief you had in the beginning of the workshop, whatever belief caused you to sign up for this, that belief is because you thought it once, maybe someone fed it to you, maybe your environment fed it to you, or maybe it was just completely unintentional and it was a thought that didn't exactly belong to you, but you started to think it, and then you produced results that gave you evidence to strengthen it and prove that it is a truth. So this is explained by the model through the Life Coaching School, and we're going to use this model over and over and over again today. So, like I said, the original belief you have, maybe that you have horrible balance, that is an unintentional belief. You're believing this without being aware that you're causing yourself to think this. The really, really cool thing is that all thoughts are optional. They are 100% in your control. The circumstance may not be, right? But the circumstance is neutral. It means nothing. You're the living conscious being that attaches the meaning to your circumstance, which creates your entire reality. So you may unintentionally be looking at your circumstance and thinking, I have horrible balance. Maybe that makes you feel defeated. It makes you feel disappointed. And from that space of defeat and disappointment, you shut down, you don't try. And then the result you get is that you can't have balance. You don't have balance. You don't create it. So then you reinforce this thought, I have horrible balance. Of course you do. And I know you're not doing this to yourself on purpose, okay? Like I said, this is unintentional. But now that you're being taught in this moment that your thoughts are this powerful and that they are optional, that you have the control to choose any thought that you want, you can now change your entire result and change your entire model from a space of awareness, from a space of power, and utilizing this model to your advantage. So let's say you now look at your circumstance and maybe you haven't yet started creating balance, so you can't jump to the affirmation of like, I have incredible balance and I'm such a balanced person. Right now, your brain doesn't believe that to be true. Right now, your brain does not have evidence to support that, but maybe it can support that balance is possible for you. That balance is available to you. Can you sit there and think like, yeah, that's true. Like I may not have it yet, but is it possible? Is it available to me? I can think that. I can think that. That feels true. It may not feel as true as I have horrible balance right now, but it can be maybe 10% belief, maybe 15% belief, maybe 50, just not 100 yet. That's okay. We're going to strengthen it every time we give you more and more evidence to support it. So let's say we start thinking balance is fully possible and available to me. That feels true. Now that it feels true, you can drop into your body. And when you think that, maybe that puts you in a state of trust. It puts you in a state of hopefulness. You just have faith, right, in the possibility. Now, the actions that you take from trust, hope, faith are completely different than the actions that you take from defeat and disappointment, right? So I'm just coming up with an example here that maybe under trust, faith, hopefulness, you actually take action towards creating self-care systems. And when you take the action to set up self-care systems, you create balance. So again, this is a really high level overview, but this is exactly what we're going to just reinforce over and over and over again today, this model over and over again. So now we've transitioned into the second part of the workshop, which is actually going over each belief that's blocking you from balance and actively dismantling it, right? So belief that blocks your balance, number one. I know that I marketed this whole workshop as the Unblock Balance Beliefs Workshop. I'm going to say balance over and over and over again this entire workshop, but I actually hate that term, and you'll see why. So if you're thinking that your goal is work-life balance, I want work-life balance. I want work-life balance. My goal is work-life balance. And I'm out of balance because my work-life separation is not 50-50 like it's supposed to be. Let's get into why that's wrong. So first of all, as you can tell from the model, how powerful your thoughts are. Your language, the words that you use to describe your life, your language is what provides the meaning that you project onto your reality, onto your circumstances, and that meaning entirely dictates the experience that you have. So the words, the phrases that we use to describe our life are so vital, and it's so important to be intentional about what descriptions we almost like prophesy over ourselves. So the reason why I don't like the term work-life balance is for two main reasons. First of all, who decided to do work-life? When you do that, you associate, like you do almost this either or fallacy, right? Between work and life. It shows that they're separate things, that almost like they're mutually exclusive, like they can't coexist. You either have work or you have life, or you have life, or you have work. And they're not integrated into one. So first of all, separating those two specific components, I don't agree with. The second part is actually the word balance itself. When you think of a balance, you know that it has two items, that they have to be of equal weight, has to be 50-50. That's literally how a balance works, right? So maybe unintentionally, just by using the word balance, your brain is already associating 50-50. And if 50-50 isn't what you constantly experience, your brain gets triggered as if you're in a problem, as if you're in a dangerous state, as if you're in something that's a mistake, as if you're in something that shouldn't be. So by using the word balance, you associate a problem when your life isn't 50-50, and from a state of being in a problem, you exert and leak a lot of energy because you feel like something's wrong. And let me explain what I would rather have us use rather than the term work-life balance. So the first reframe that I'm going to go over is, my goal is life equilibrium. And I know that's a mouthful, but you're going to love the explanation that I have for this. So first of all, you can be stable in all your life seasons when you use the definition life equilibrium rather than work-life balance. Let me explain. So like I said, I like to use the term life equilibrium, and here's why. Life encompasses it all. We're not separating anything. We're not toggling back and forth between life and work and creating this separation in our identity, this separation in our routine. You're just in your life all the time, okay? Then the second part, the word equilibrium, I'm actually using the chemical or chemistry definition of equilibrium. And if you haven't taken chemistry yet, or if you have, here's a recap. When a chemical reaction has reached a point where the products and the reactant concentrations are unchanging with time because they are occurring at the same rate, not because they're present in equal amounts. So in the 50-50, I mean, in the work-life balance, you needed 50-50. You needed equal amounts of work, equal amounts of life, equal amounts of doing, equal amounts of being. And if you didn't have it equal, then you weren't balanced. But by the equilibrium definition, you can have an equation where there's more work molecules, so to say, than rest molecules, or more or doing molecules than being molecules, and still be in a state of equilibrium. So I believe that this word is a lot more realistic to apply to our lives. And even though we're not changing anything, even though your work-life balance may look exactly the same, it's not 50-50, our brain is no longer associating our life, our circumstance, with it being a problem. And it neutralizes whatever experience you're in. You're not judging it, you're not resisting it, you're not upset by it. It's just like, this is my life, and I can be stable even when I'm in a high intense season of exams, even when I have all this extra time for rest. I don't have to feel uncomfortable. I don't have to feel strain or stress. I can be in that state of equilibrium, life equilibrium, just all the time. So that's why I really love that phrase. So I'm going to take you through this thought model again, and you can even just do this on your own, where if we were to put the reframe through this thought model versus the block belief through this thought model, what differences would you get? I think it'd be pretty large, right? So when you look at whatever your workload is, whatever your circumstances with your degree, instead of thinking, oh, my goal is to have work-life balance and I can't have 50-50, so my balance isn't possible. You instead see your circumstance, you see your degree, and you're like, my goal is a life equilibrium, and I can be stable in all my life seasons, given this new definition. The feeling that you have can be neutral, or it can just be acceptance. And from that space of neutrality and acceptance, I'm sure the actions that you take are completely different than when you're judging your circumstance, like, damn, I don't have the 50-50 that I need. Damn, I have so much work. It's taking up all my time. Like, just kind of take yourself through that thought model and notice how this circumstance part doesn't have to change. It's really just the thought and the meaning that you're applying to it that gives you a whole new result. Now, belief number 2 that blocks your balance. And I know I'm going to just keep saying balance over and over again. I couldn't go through this whole workshop and replace balance with equilibrium. But, I do want to start using that phrase a lot more and making it more common, at least in my own community with you. So the second one that's very common that I've heard a lot of people do is they don't let themselves enjoy their friends, their family, or their rest time until all of their tasks are complete. Now, why does this block your balance? So first of all, this statement is assuming that rest is the opposite of being productive, that rest diminishes your qualities of ambition and dedication, that rest is a deterrent or distraction from your success and progress, or even time with your family is not productive, is not allowing you to progress and be successful. And this belief directly leads to burnout because it only allows you to choose rest to enjoy your friends and family if it's earned in some type of way. And that you can only go into a state of rest, not intentionally, but when you're forced to because your body's just demanding it, you're at that point of burnout. And I completely understand that as a child, we were most likely taught, like, you cannot go and play with your friends, you cannot go play video games, you cannot go do this fun, enjoyable activity until you complete your chores, until you complete your responsibilities. And while that may work for a child because their responsibilities are much less in comparison to an adult, that's exactly why it doesn't work for us now. As an adult, we have so many responsibilities. We have so much to take care of that if we still function from this space, we're never going to experience joy. We're never going to experience rest. And I'm sure that's the case that you're in the middle of experiencing, right? And partially why you signed up for this. Now, the reframe is that prioritizing your friends and family and prioritizing rest first is actually what energizes you to be your best. Let me explain that further. Rest, there's this book that's called Rest, Why You Get More Done When You Work Less. It's a really eye-opening, belief-expanding book that I enjoyed. And it explains that rest is not those previous, definitions that were in the previous belief slide. It is not the absence of work. It is actually its own entity. It's its own quality, and it gives the meaning to our work. Rest is a state of being, and it opens you up to abundance, and it calls in the creativity necessary to do good work. And it supports your success by energizing, healing, and recharging you. It does not take away from your success. And Jim Quick, who is a brain performance coach expert, he has this quote where it says, burnout happens not because you do too much, but because you do too little of what lights up your soul or lights your soul on fire. And I have a perfect example of that from episode 9 of my podcast. Again, this is Jorge Quintero. I mentioned him earlier because he's the one who taught me about neuroplasticity. He has this quote during the interview where he says, I was able to finish all of my electrical engineering activities, including homework, by 8 p.m. pretty much every night. And I made sure that my nights were just for hanging out and spending time with others. Now, you may look at this and think like, well, George is a genius, and that's why he's able to finish his engineering work by 8 p.m. So he's earned his ability to go spend time with his friends. So you could look at this and emphasize his work and his completion of his work as to why he's able to have that intentional leisure. Or maybe he was able to be so successful because he made time for his friends and family every single evening. Rest is the reason why he's able to be more productive, why he's able to be more motivated to complete his tasks by 8 p.m. And like that quote said, burnout doesn't happen when you have too much. It happens when you do too little of what lights you up. Now, if I were to compare myself to George, to Jorge, I did not prioritize my friends and family. I did not prioritize my rest. And I 100% was burnt out all the time. And I wish I had recognized and realized that part of the reason why I was so burnt out is because my soul connections with my family and my friends, that soul lighting activity, I wasn't putting myself in that activity often enough. And it really wasn't the workload. It was not prioritizing that friends and family and that rest. So again, we can go through this thought model, and instead of looking at our STEM circumstances and thinking, I can't enjoy my friends and family or rest until I complete all my tasks, can we look at it and think, prioritizing my friends and family and putting my rest first is actually what energizes me to be my best. Those are two completely opposite sides of the spectrum. And I know 100% that when you say that, the feeling in your body is different, the actions that you take are different, and the results that you get are different. And me versus Jorge is a perfect example of that, right? Now, belief number 3 that is blocking your balance. Kind of similar. I can't take care of myself until my deadline or exam season is over. Now, we just went through exams, or you're most likely still going through exams. We're in the middle of May. And I did a story poll on Instagram where I asked people, like, how many semesters have you done this? Do you do this every exam season? Do you do this every semester? Have you done this year after year? And I think it was like 80% of the people polled in my story said, oh yeah, this is totally a cycle that I go through. I just neglect myself. I self-sacrifice during a deadline, during an exam season, and that's just the truth of my circumstances, of my STEM experience. And of course, this blocks your balance, because when you say this, when you do this, it's easy to convince yourself that it's only temporary, therefore it's okay. But like I just explained through the story poll that I did with the community, it's not that temporary. If you're doing this every quiz and final season, if you're doing this every deadline, if you're doing this every semester or year after year, that's not temporary. So notice that and recognize that it's a cycle that you're perpetuating. And part of the reason why you're perpetuating it is because every time you choose this, you're giving your brain evidence that your success requires self-sacrifice, which is exactly why you keep doing it over and over again. So we have to change the action that you do to give you a different result so that you can start weakening this association that success equals my self-sacrifice. So the reframe that I have for this is my self-care is important, and exam/deadline season is exactly when I deserve it most. What's the difference, right? So in order to explain the difference, I want to go over the three main types of beliefs that I learned from my coach. So the three main types are: one, there are core beliefs, and those beliefs are identity focused. Those are the beliefs that you have towards yourself and who you are. So they usually start with an I am, where it's like, I am healthy. I believe that to be true. I am beautiful. I believe that to be true. Whatever you use to describe yourself in your identity, who you are, that is what we would call a core belief. Then there is something called a bridge belief or a working belief, and this is the kind of belief that puts you in the present moment, actively working towards something. So it can be something like, I am working on improving my balance. You can believe that to be true. And then the third type of belief is an environmental belief, such as a belief that describes a them, a group of them, whether that's your family, whether that's your friends, whether that's your peers or your coworkers, or it describes it, such as your STEM degree. And if we look back at the reframe, my self-care is important, and exam/deadline season is exactly when I deserve it most. You strengthen two ideas, two types of beliefs. You strengthen one, that you are important and that you are deserving. So you're strengthening a core type of belief. And you're also strengthening an environmental belief, because your environment is not in charge of your self-care experience, right? Your environment being in a season of exams, in a season of deadlines, maybe a season of stress, regardless of being in that season, your self-care is still important. And you as a person, to your core, still deserve that self-care. So it starts changing your beliefs about your environment and how much control it has over you. And it starts upgrading your beliefs about yourself and what you're worthy of. Now, again, if we look at the difference of attaching the thought, I can't take care of myself until my deadline/exam season is over, and whatever feelings that triggers in your body, versus being told to yourself, my self-care is important, and exam/deadline season is when I deserve it most. Like, that just feels lighter. That just feels, in my body at least, when I hear these two dichotomies. And from that space of lightness, your actions and results are completely different. Now, belief number 4 that blocks your balance is, I'm not disciplined enough to balance both self-care and STEM. And I have heard this over and over and over again, where students associate some kind of core belief that they're lazy, some kind of core belief that they are not a disciplined person, or maybe they're disciplined when it comes to external what's the term I'm looking for? Like external expectations, but they're not disciplined enough when it comes to taking care of themselves, when it comes to prioritizing who they are. So this also is a core belief situation. And let's explain why that blocks your balance. So part of taking care of yourself, just like, right? Part of taking care of yourself is not criticizing or shooting yourself into actions that you're supposed to do. So if we look at this belief, you're saying, I'm not disciplined enough to balance both self-care and STEM. That is you judging yourself, judging your situation, and criticizing yourself and for not doing what you're supposed to. And this includes shooting yourself to be more disciplined for self-care. Like when you tell yourself that, that's literally the opposite of self-care. You may think that telling yourself, oh, you're not disciplined enough is going to motivate you to somehow become more disciplined. But if that were true, you wouldn't be here. And what I mean by that is like telling yourself that you're not disciplined enough most likely shuts you down, makes you feel judged and criticized. And the actions that you take from that space are not giving you self-care. So shooting yourself to be more disciplined for self-care is the opposite of self-care. And I know that sounds very paradoxical, but I know you get it as I'm explaining it to you. So the key change that I want to have here is that you don't want self-care just because you're supposed to, right? You don't want self-care just because it's what you should be doing. You want self-care because it amplifies your best qualities, because it nurtures your gifts and it allows your gifts to shine through in the ways that you're meant to impact the world. I think right now, a lot of people associate their self-care of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, so this is a problem, I'm a problem, versus associating their self-care with something much higher than that. And I think associating it with being this amplifier of your best qualities so that you can actually make the type of contribution that you're designed to make, then going towards self-care and wanting to grab it is completely different. And the energy is completely different than like, yeah, I guess I should be taking more care of myself and I'm not, right? So what's the reframe here? The reframe that I have for this is I have what I need to take care of myself and study successfully. Now, remember from the thought model, oh, sorry, you may hear my dog bark every now and then. Now, remember from the thought model that our result is directly linked to how we feel due to the actions that we take from that feeling. When we say that we aren't disciplined enough, we're judging ourselves, and no one has ever been healed or solved an issue from a space of judgment. So we might think that telling ourselves this is what's going to motivate us to change, but when you feel judged, the cycle you're actually aiming to break is perpetuated. So this belief has nothing to do, this belief says nothing about your abilities, this one, the reframe, I have what I need to take care of myself and study successfully. This isn't associated with a core belief about you. It instead focuses on your desire for that amplified self-care and for both being available to you exactly as you are right now, whether you have the discipline or not. You have what you need. So let me just pause for a quick second. Just want to confirm. Okay. Yes, we're good. Sorry. So again, if we were to look at the block belief, I'm not disciplined enough to balance both, versus I have what I need to balance both. Again, creates different feelings, different actions, different results. Now, the last reframe that we're going to go over together is I'm not able to have balance because I have too much to do and not enough time. And I'm sure if you said this to anybody in STEM or any person, they don't even have to be in STEM, they would agree with this. No one would challenge this. No one would tell you that this isn't true. In fact, in their mind, this is also a fact, right? But let's go over why this blocks you from balance. So this thought places the power outside of yourself, and it lets your workload be the dictating factor over your sense of peace. If all your time, backtrack. Now, if you are finding yourself spending all 24 hours of your day working and doing nothing else or worrying about nothing else, it's usually not because the workload that you have on your plate. It's usually related to a much deeper reason that you're attaching. And that could be one, that you think you need to overachieve in order to feel safe. So that's why you allow your time to be about work and work only. It may be that you take school so seriously because you associate school with your life's success and therefore your safety. And you also may be thinking that you need A's, you need to be perfect in order to have that core belief that you're important, in order to have that core belief that you're intelligent, in order to have that core belief that you're valuable. So you're chasing this from a state of desperateness, right? And that's why right now your brain is associating your workload and your lack of time, but it's actually really coming from a much deeper place. Those are just the surface issues. So if you spend all your time working, not because your workload level, but because of what you think your work results mean about you. So this is actually like a core belief type of issue, that I'm not able to have balance because I have too much to do and not enough time, very much related to a core belief about yourself. Now the reframe, which is what wraps up, the whole meaning, the whole point of this workshop, which is that it's not that you're not able to have balance because of your workload or your time. It is that balance is created by your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, regardless of your workload or your time. And I hope that point has really been driven and felt throughout this entire workshop so far. And I just want us to go through the model in this case. So circumstance, your STEM degree, your workload, your exam season. And I want you to look at your exam season and I want you to think, balance is created by me, created by what I think and how I feel and the actions that I take. Even when I'm looking at how much work I have, even when I'm looking at my STEM degree and what it demands from me, I can have balance because I can create it from myself and how I think towards this circumstance. And I'm sure the feeling that comes through is a level of empowerment. And when you feel empowered and you know that you have this ability, that it's available to you, that it's in your control, then you act as if that's true. You act as if success and you act as if balance is just inevitable. And of course, the result that you produce when you believe that to your core is the exact balance that you've been wanting. Now, as just a general recap, this is the third part of the workshop. The steps that you kind of gone through today is one, this self-awareness. I've brought you to become aware of the beliefs that have been commonly going through your mind and how they've been influencing you to not exactly produce that balance that you say you've been wanting. And I've exposed you to a belief upgrade model that brings in this greater possibility that you can believe in instead. Those were all the reframes that we went over. And now that you've started to create these new neuro pathways, I've created one pathway with these thoughts, your homework, your goal, your action to take now that this belief has been introduced to you is for you to strengthen it, is for you to act from it, for you to behave from it so that you can give yourself more evidence to strengthen it over and over and over again until it's just at 100% belief that you act from it naturally and habitually. So I would like to give you that opportunity to act from this belief and support that balance that you've been wanting by inviting you to work with me. So I'm going to go to my website here, Engineer Podcast, Coaching, Work with Jen. I have a signature program. It's called Self-Care Semester, and I go through what I call my soul method. I have ran this program twice. I ran it once at 6 weeks, then I restructured it and I ran it again at a 4-week container. And now I'm in the middle of reworking it again, and it'll be a 5-week container. And if we go through what this program is, one, it is a group program. It is 100% live, just like this workshop. I am live teaching you this while we're here. And it is 100% how to study with soul. And it is designed to help the stressed STEM students or STEM professionals prioritize their self-care by creating a soul schedule to follow through their semester. And it's customized 100% to you and your degree and your lifestyle. So if you're experiencing like no self-care strategy at all, where school's consuming all of your energy, where you're just constantly stressed, this is your program to finally get the personal time you deserve, to finally have the balance you deserve, to finally have that mental peace that you deserve. And I know so much about this because I was in your seat. And the only reason why I can now teach and talk about this topic is because I have gone through the pain of this exact issue, and I've hired life coaches, I've gone through courses, and I have spent so much time and energy really focusing on my well-being, healing my relationship with my self-worth and how I attach my worth to my accomplishments. Like I was the epitome of the person that had horrible, unhealthy balance and lifestyle while I was getting my degree in civil engineering, which took me 5 years. So that was 5 years of me being in a stressed state in my mind and in my body until I invested in coaches myself. And I 100% attribute their level of space and accountability with me as to why I've been able to now show up to teach you. And within this program, like I said, we go through what I call my soul method, which I'll be revamping. But basically, we set a really clear self-care vision. So many students, their bar for self-care is very low, and we want to expand that, just like today, where we are expanded your beliefs to a newer possibility. And once you can expand it to that place, then you can give it a physical pathway to be created. We optimize your daily self-care routines, whether that's your morning routine and your evening routine. We unload your stress sources by designing a system specifically to reduce your stress. And we also learn how to leverage your time by connecting it to your energy level and making a schedule from that place. And the 5th week that I'm going to add to the program is going to be actually about thought work and limiting beliefs. So that's the 5th week component. So I'll be like updating my website, and I'll be revamping my program. It says right now that it's currently in a pause as I transition to my full-time engineering career, and that pause is soon going to end, and I am soon going to launch this and be accepting applications. So like I said, when you enroll, there's going to be live interactive group coaching calls. So I like to have no more than a group of 5 or 6. So we'll have a really intimate space where I live coach you, and it is a workshop style. It's interactive. So you will be filling out worksheets, answering questions. I will be guiding you through it. It's not just like a lecture, cameras off, and you're just like listening to me lecturing at you. It's like, no, we're going through the work together side by side. And at the end of each lesson, I'll give you what I call a little soul assignment. It's very, very simple, but super impactful. And of course, we'll have a daily group chat together, accountability, and you'll get recordings if you can't make the live, calls. But regardless of, the details that you get in the program, I want to explain what you really get and why it's so worth it. Like, first of all, you're going to wake up for 5 weeks in a soulful container, 100% dedicated to your self-care. You're going to create a daily routine that fills your soul every morning and every evening. You're going to have a toolbox kit that helps you release your stress and shift your view from success from external to internal. You'll have a recent engineering graduate. Well, I don't know if 2 years is considered recent anymore, but I'm still going to say that. A recent engineering graduate guiding you and co-creating this roadmap to your self-care, to your soul, and keeping you accountable. And of course, you're going to learn how to respect and honor your own time, your own health, by creating a schedule that includes both your STEM and your self-care. And I have all these testimonials from my previous clients on my website that you can spend time reading. Like I said, I feel like this is my life's work at this moment in time. I have really, truly gone through this experience, I believe, for this exact situation, and that is to help other STEM students really come to that balance, that life equilibrium, right? And if you go to my website and you click any of the links on this landing page for the program, it will take you to a wait list. So there's a wait list where you can just add in, your email and that information. And then when the program is completely ready and I'm launching it, then you will be the first to know. Something that is different about me as a coach versus what other coaches may do is that I really want to make sure and vet that every single person that joins this program is going to actually receive the results that they desire. So I make it an application. I have you apply to the program. We then jump on a call together where we go through your application together and we decide if the program is a good fit for you. And if it's not, I'll be honest and I'll say, oh, you're actually at a place where you have whatever it is. You're at a place where I don't think my program would be as beneficial to you as you may think. So I'm going to offer something else instead, or just, right? So it's a win-win. And this is how I ensure that everybody that's in the container is there and I know and truly believe that I can support them. And you also know that I'm there to support you. So I will stop sharing my screen and I will, I think, close out. That was exactly an hour. It was a 7 o'clock workshop. It is now 8 p.m. And thank you so much for giving me your time, giving me your attention. Time is an unrenewable resource and you decided to spend it with me. So thank you so much. I am so grateful to have your trust. And if this workshop was helpful, I will be sending out a feedback form just to hear your thoughts. And I'm genuinely here to create the content that is most beneficial and that serves you at your highest. So I love, love, love hearing from everybody, whether that's in the comments on Instagram, in the comments on YouTube, in my DMs, whatever the case, in my email list. I really love interacting with you. I do this for you. So again, thank you so much. I'm so grateful and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.